8.8. Russia's Kamachi Peninsula, wherever that is.
Right.
That's good. Look at those cars so.
Wow, that's a long time that it's going.
County Hospital. If you
It's just flat ground. Unbelievable.
Well, operator.
This is Dr. Agostino. Please connect me to 27893, the emergency room.
We're gonna think Trump did it.
One moment.
Travis Front.
You'll breathe. Enhance breast cancer early, even before.
Here, some soda.
Thank you.
Did I tell you my?
These are really good.
Hello.
Good?
They're amazing. I can get them away from you. I'm allowing myself one more.
I never saw these kind before. Usually the roll.
The
one.
resolution, yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
These are good.
Hello.
What was the trip with August? We missed you. I told them, Mark, I said, oh, how's the wedding?
Really as good as.
Thank God, we had the best time, and I kept on saying that like, that you guys really wanted to come, and I even spoke to you. Like,
What, tell me about the stone.
I couldn't read the dispatches. It was too painful.
It was,
That he was.
it was beautiful.
Um,
I met Mark's
Where-
wife.
where are they?
We're friendly, it's very nice. She's really lovely.
The lawyer, also.
Okay.
Yeah, she's lovely.
We may have to let, I wouldn't do it tonight, but we have to let IR know. This is someone, this is someone who's septic. They may need a nephrostomy too. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
It worked. Amazing.
We can see them.
Wow. that's
Thank you very
much.
What's the name of the patient? What's the name of the patient?
The lost, and they were.
Thank you very much.
Where were we? Portugal. That was the last trip we were on. Was Portugal? No, it's
Tunisia.
Central Europe,
Tunisia was the last.
Tunisia. And that's when Edward said this was his last trip. It was 85 and a half. I remember him saying that.
He said at his age, you celebrate half birthdays. I'll never forget him saying
Right,
that.
right.
How
And
old?
so he said, I'm not.
Mark Shapiro's father.
No, he came with us. I just moved with him a lot. He did very good on the trip.
He
Yeah.
said at his age, I celebrate half years.
One second, everybody. I'm just dealing with a page here. 1 second.
When did we go? Did we go to Tunisia before COVID or after?
Rosalba
So,
Garcia.
recent. Where did we go last year? Oh,
Which
last
Central
year?
Europe.
Into Central Europe. So it
This
was
was
there.
unbelievable.
So it was 87, 80?
France is,
Yeah.
France.
It's supposed to be.
I'm sure.
Couldn't believe it.
All I kept saying is that I'm at this wedding, a wedding is a wedding is a wedding. Of course I had to go.
I'm not ready to go.
When it's a wedding, I mean, like,
I
my
never-
partner was stronger and I had to go.
Mhm.
And it's like,
But you know what, like, we've read so many books about that, with, like the bonds and all those orals and all these places, but until you go,
Mhm.
you don't understand it until you go. Like, now I understand it, you understand the area better.
The troops
It's not like we're
were,
gonna do another one there for a while.
they used to go up the side of the
um.
river, the Seine.
The same was, yeah.
That's a something.
Yeah.
Those
Your side.
boats had the-
Okay, good evening, everybody. We have a group of people here as well at our home. We are in volume 8, page 264. We are gonna go through the Igros Moshe. We're dealing about the issue of squeezing lemon. And we said that some were matir to squeeze it onto sugar.
Consensus.
The Mishnah Berurah said you could squeeze lemons on sugar, but Rav Moshe says not for grapefruit. Because the mixture of lemon and sugar can theoretically be eaten by someone, while a similar mixture of grapefruit and sugar would never be eaten. I don't know why the Rav Moshe would say such a thing. I grew up-
It would be.
eating, my mother we'd have a half a grapefruit,
And you put
they'd
sugar on it.
cut the pieces and we'd put sugar on it. We'd eat
That
the
was like,
piece.
that was like a.
So I don't know what-
part of dinner,
why-
like-
Cherry in the middle.
You see Rav Moshe saying? Okay, let's see what Rav Moshe says. Ba'ashkolot shekorim grapefruit. She'osr l'soich b'Shabbos. You can't, I hear what he says. You can't squeeze the grapefruit onto sugar. That people are not going to eat. Lemon on sugar, people are going to eat, like the Russians with the AT. But ba'ashkolot shekorim grapefruit, she'osr l'soich b'Shabbos l'makom sheyesh sham zucker. Even you can eat it right away. V'hiksha shol, somebody asked Rav Moshe, what about mehadis b'mishnah brura? The Rishonim lischot lemonish shehut citron shel zucker al citron shel zucker. Shehut citron al zucker. Somebody asked Rav Moshe, well, why the Mishnah Brura allows you to squeeze lemon on top of a piece of sugar. Even though his intent, he wants to put it into tea. So Rav Moshe says, he says you can't compare lemons to grapefruits. The lemonish who rak tavlin. He says lemon is like a flavoring, like a spice. Ve'ena derech lishtos osan lamashke. He says it's not the derech to just drink it as a beverage. People would squeeze the lemon.
What about lemonade?
Okay, so that, but he must mean be'en. There's just the lemon by itself. Yes, you have to add sugar and water. That we learned last week that there were people who matired you to do that. But regular lemon squeezed directly out of the lemon, you're not going to drink that. You're going to put it into a glass of tea. Shuma'at mazir is a very tiny amount. Lachen kushunischat l'tzucker. So he says, when the Mishnah Berurah allowed you to squeeze that lemon onto a piece of sugar, nivtal mitzah limon mechashivas hamashka shebo. It's like bottle. It's like nullified. The lemon is so minimal, it's not choshev as a mashke anymore. Remember the whole problem with Sechita of squeezing, if you're squeezing it l'shem mashke. So Rav Moshe is learning that you're not really, it's not a mashke anymore. Machmas chashivas oichel she'ika ala zucker. As a example, the lemon is a food, which is not on the sugar.
It's amazing that Rav Moshe wrote this Tzurba, or whatever it is, and he used the word sukkar instead of sukkar. Like, I've never seen Yiddish in a. It's a Yiddish word. Sukkar is a Yiddish word. It's not a.
But he does it a lot.
He does that a lot.
Yeah.
Not, yeah.
Or
Auto or a machine.
A machine. Yeah, but machine is not sukkar. Machine is maybe Yiddish. I don't know what.
Well, machine is a Yiddish too.
It's
That's
the
what
Yiddish word of way of
they
saying.
didn't say auto.
Right, he didn't say auto, he
Auto.
didn't say car. He said machine, because that's the way it was referred to in Yiddish in the 50s. It was machine.
Yeah. B'shayach sheyochlu chatichas zucker ze ba'atzmo. You have to eat the piece of sugar, he says, by itself. L'mi sherotza b'achilas zucker she'emutam. And some people, they're not going to eat just plain sugar. They want it flavored. Lo rak b'mashu matuk ketinoket, like eating a candy, like a child. Sharbei inshim agdolim lo nichalu. The older people are not used to that. Lachein hu b'shem oichel. Squeezing the lemon on the sugar sort of converts the lemon to a food, not a beverage. This lemon is being squeezed on a food. It's like a food that was separated. Look at the footnote. The juice that comes out of a solid retains the status of a solid if it remains secondary to a solid food and does not attain the status of an independent liquid. It is for this reason that the liquid may be permitted when squeezed into a solid and forbidden when squeezed into a liquid for use as a liquid. We said last week, squeezing it into a liquid is not permitted. Squeezing it on food is permitted.
You also had an acronym for that. Not to do the sugar first. What was it?
Yeah. A mnemonic.
Yeah,
Sulam. Sulam.
Sulam. Right.
Sugar, lemon, mayim.
Mine.
We're probably talking about sugar square, cube.
Square.
That should be
That's
cute.
exactly what he's,
Sugar cube.
That's not
That's-
sugar.
that's exactly what he's talking about. Do you remember the people?
Sure.
They would put it between their teeth. The old Russians.
There's a word.
The old Russians.
There's a word for that. Drinking parkuska.
Parkuska.
Parkuska is when you put the lemon
So Yaakov says,
Sugar.
Yaakov says drinking
Yeah.
parkuska is the Yiddish word or Russian word for putting the sugar cube between your teeth and drinking the lemon, like the old timers would do that.
That's what the older, the Rabbanan, again, in the fifties, they all drank that way. I didn't even know if Domino makes it. Domino used to make these cubes,
Mhm.
in small cubes. I don't know if they still
Yeah,
have.
I have a box oven.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what was there. That's how they drank.
Aval kishesoichet ha'ashkolus, now he wants to differentiate with grapefruit. When you're squeezing the grapefruit, kol aschitu mishum sherotze lishtos. He wants to drink this. They don't you don't use grapefruit flavor to flavor something else. Yeah, people do drink grapefruit juice. Like apple juice or or grape juice. Therefore, you cannot consider it as food, even when you squeeze it on top of a piece of sugar. Certainly, or when you squeeze it not on a cube but on granules. There, therefore, grapefruit's going to have the status of all other fruits that are made for squeezing for their fluid, lamashke. Therefore, asur b'Shabbos in Paris on in l'schita. Ve'ena schita shoyis al gabi tzukar mishanes masav is kavanashem. He says that squeezing the grapefruit on sugar is not changing the intent. Shu soicha the chashivas mashke. V'lo kasha klum, he says it's not a problem. He says ubara upashut lanius daiti, in his humble opinion. Okay. Page 265. Sechita in the mouth and with a spoon. We have seen so far that squeezing of fruit for its juice constitutes sechita. And it's a Melacha on Shabbos. Does sechita also apply if a person takes a grape in his hand and sucks the juice into his mouth? On the one hand, this is not the normal method of squeezing. On the other hand, ultimately, he is squeezing the juice from the grape. The Ramah presents two opinions about this question as it pertains to grapes. He doesn't issue a final ruling. Squeezing for all of that is asur. You can suck juice from grapes, hamashkeb shohen, the koshekin b'shar dvarim, and certainly other things. However, he brings the yeshoim. Yesh oisrim limtzotz bepem anavim chasur. But he says there are those who prohibit to suck fluid out of a fruit. The Mishnah Berurah cites the ruling of the Eliyahu Rabbah, according to which one should be stringent for olives and grapes not to suck from them into one's mouth. But one may suck them while they are inside the mouth. Ayin Be'Eliyahu Rabbah, says the Mishnah Berurah, shekosov de bezesim v'anovim sheschitosim midoraisa. Remember, we learned last week also that olives and grapes, you can sit here, Kobe. Kobe likes to put this away. Okay. Remember, we said grapes and olives are the ones that are mentioned, and therefore they are doraisa. The other ones are midrabanan. There we it's more like a gzeira not to do it even with your mouth. Kisvar rishona. But other things you could be lenient. They're prohibiting it if you leave the grape external to your mouth and suck it. I've never seen anybody do something like that. Yeah. He says, but putting it in your mouth, he just sort of sucks the food and then get rid of the peel. So that's permitted. The Yalkut Yosef, son of Rav Avadia, rules concerning sucking into one's mouth that the halacha follows the lenient opinion, but it's proper to be stringent with grapes and olives, for which the prohibition of squeezing is broken. Says the Yalkut Yosef, some say it's prohibited to suck it, V'chein also limtzos befivis amarak mitoch habasar. Like somebody sucks soup out of meat. Oes hayayin mitoch pas sheshor sobayan. Let's say somebody soaked a piece of bread in wine and he sucks it out of the bread. Yesh matirim bezeh. Some are permissive. Bein ba'novim bein b'shar b'basar upasa bluim bein mashkim. Some are permissive even with grapes and with meat or bread that has absorbed fluid. It's maker adin like the lenient opinions. We call makom nachon lachmer banovim sheikar isrus chitas b'natorah. You should be machmir, stringent with grapes. Levalim tzotz not to suck the juice when the grape is outside of your mouth. Aval b'shar perishes chitas masur rak medivrei sofrim. Where other fruits, apples, pears, the other ones we mentioned, where people do squeeze them for their fluid, but it's also midrabanan, kigon tutim v'rimonim, like cherries, mulberries, pomegranates, oranges, tapuch ezav, ashklos, yesh lahakel. Somewhat different case of unusual Sechita arises with respect to cutting citrus fruits on Shabbos. May one cut an orange or grapefruit if some of the juice will inevitably be squeezed out. The Shmir Shabbos Kachosar permits cutting a grapefruit and eating it with a spoon, even though some juice gets squeezed. He explains that this is a psik resha with two rabbinic prohibitions, which many poskim permit. Muter lachtoch ashkalos lerochva. He says you can cut a grapefruit in half. Ula ochla bekapit and eat it with a spoon. Ve'nikach mishum isra Sechita. You don't have to worry about whatever little squeezing goes on. V'usham nam yizar milas. You should be careful not to intentionally squeeze it. V'gam lo yichavin davka lemitz b'shashu and not have in mind sort of the juice as you're eating it as a food. Says the Ha'ara, Shari Afilim Yischot Osam Yadayim. Even if you would squeeze it by hand, Gam Kenem Zel Isur Drabonon. Like we said, it's only grapes and olives that are Isur Deraisa. So this would only be an Isur Drabonon. V'kan Shapri Nislak Tzad B'Shas Achila V'Haskita Klach Hayad. This is not taking a grapefruit and using, that cleat, the squeezing cleat, or just squeezing it. You're eating it, and some get squeezed Klach Hayad, like as a shinui. So Vavi trade Rabbanon. So it's Klach Hayad. The hoil ve'enam is kavin lischot, and then you have no kavanah for the squeezing. Shari. The b'chai gavin betrayed rabbanon b'psik reisha. It's two rabbinics, and it's the psik reisha means when you're going to do something and you know for sure it's going to happen. But since it's rabbinic, it's okay. When you're eating a grapefruit, it's not like you're separating the juice into a separate kos. Elahu nishar mu'urav bepri. Yeah, your spoon is squeezing a little bit of the juice on the other pieces of the fruit. 267. Squeezing from fruit onto food. As referenced above, regarding the making of lemonade, squeezing from one food directly onto another food is not classified as extracting a liquid from food. Rather, according to the Gemara in Shabbos, this is like separating one fruit from another, since the liquid is immediately absorbed into another solid food, and the squeezed juice adopts the identity of the food which absorbs it. Therefore, such squeezing is permitted. On Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, Soichet Adam Eshkol Shalom Avim L'tocha Ketera. You can squeeze grapes into your dish. Kedera means there's a pot of food. Avalolo tocha ka'ara, but not onto an empty plate. A beverage that comes from a food, and it comes out of that food, and it comes into other food. Hamashka bala oichel comes into food, it's considered oichel. And most Rishonim rule in accordance with Shmuel, so that one may squeeze liquid from a fruit and allow it to be absorbed into food. However, according to Rabbeinu Chananel, based upon a later passage in the Gemara, one may not do so. See next section, where Rabbeinu Hananel rules in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan, that one may not squeeze boiled or pickled vegetables if one desires to use the liquid. Since Rabbi Yochanan does not mention any exceptions in cases of squeezing into food, Rabbi Hananel infers that he disagrees with Shmuel Bechlal. So the Shulchan Aruch rules in accordance with the majority opinion. Mutter listos eshkon avatoch kedera, sheyesh bo tafshel kedei l'takna ochel. So the Mechaber says you can squeeze grapes into a pot of food. Tavlei mashka bala ochel ko ochel dami. He says it's considered like food. Aval ein bo tafshel aser. But to do it on an empty plate, it's no food, that's prohibited. The Mishnah accepts the opinion of the Shulchan Aruch, but adds that it is meritorious to be stringent in accordance with Rabbeinu Hananel. Mishnah writes, one may not squeeze juice into an empty glass with the intent of adding it to food, means you have to do it directly onto the food. Kedei l'sakena ochel. Hashem mefareg b'zeisim v'novim, because that's the terminology used, mefareg, in the Gemara by olives and grapes. Eino, it's only used ki'im b'shetzarech l'schita sapri l'mashke. It's used in the context of squeezing a fruit because you want the juice. She'az chasuv prika shemafarek hamashke min ha'oichel, then separating the liquid from the oichel, that's a melacha. Mashe ein kein bezeh ein zederch prika, so when you're squeezing something onto other food, so that's not derech mafarek. Davi kamafrid oichel m'oichel. It's like you're separating one food onto another food. I lakami b'seif zayin ba'agod Rabbi Hananel oiser b'zeh. So the Rabbi Hananel was a das yochid who was stringent, but ach rova poskim chokim alav. Most of the poskim argued with Rabbi Hananel. Lachen stam hashulchan aruch lahakel mitzad hadin. That's why the Mechaber was lenient. Kol mokum hamachmer tov alov bracha, k'mo shekosav b'tshuvas harosh. Aval im ein ba, there's no food. Even you have a plate, you have a cup, and you squeeze lemon, and your idea is to then put it onto the food. No. The Shmur Shabbos Hilchos writes in accordance with Shulchan Aruch, the Mishnah Berurah, but adds that one should avoid squeezing grapes into food. Since grapes involves a Torah prohibition, it's advisable then to be machmir like Rabbeinu Hananel. That which we said you can squeeze by hand into food. So you notice they don't say use a kli. They want you to use your hand. That's other fruits. The Shmir Shabbos says better not do it with grapes. Unless you're doing it because you're preparing infant food. Because oichel nefesh, right? On Yontif you can do it. You have to make sure that the juice goes into the food.
Same thing I assume would apply to olives.
And it would apply to olives because it's the same as the grapes. Both are deraisa. I mean, do we really squeeze olives for their juice?
No.
We have olive oil. We use the oil. We eat the olives. I mean, the question I'm issuing is like squeezing lemon on a piece of fish or on a salad. It sounds so far that you'd be able to do it.
Sure.
You're squeezing it onto food.
You can squeeze it onto sugar. You can say it's-
Exactly, it's on oichel.
Why can't you drink oil? Because oil is made from olives.
No, but we're talking about squeezing the food on Shabbos. So for example, you can't take an orange on Shabbos and squeeze it for its juice into a cup. That's
You can't
Sechita.
do-
That's a Melacha on Shabbos that
Yeah,
you're
but-
not allowed.
Say like it falls, like let's say it like falls down from the tree, and the squirrel like sucks the juice out of it.
No, the squirrel is not
Squirrel's
chayav
not
for
Jewish, not
Shabbos.
Shabbos.
It's not Jewish.
No. First of all, you're good that you said it falls. We're not allowed to pluck a fruit off of a tree. That would be prohibited. Yes, okay.
Wait, what if it falls and you use it? Are you allowed to do that?
Well, there's another thing about being, you have to have it muchan from Erev Shabbos. Like an egg that's born on Shabbos, you can't use it, it's no lud. And it could be that fruit's the same thing. It has to be muchan, has to be prepared from before Shabbos, anything you use. Otherwise, it has a problem of muktzah. Because when on Shabbos, it was still connected to the tree, so it was out of your mouth, you wouldn't be able to use it because of muktzah, but it's a different prohibition. But let's forget about the tree. Let's say you have an orange in our house. We bought the orange, okay? And you cut it, you can't squeeze it for its juice. That's what we've been learning. The Bir Halacha clarifies that also, although squeezing into food is permitted, squeezing liquid into liquid is forbidden, right? You can't squeeze it, you can't squeeze your lemon directly into tea. It's one liquid into another liquid. The chiyuv enami yesh b'zeh, and there's a chiyuv. Kach kosav eli rabba v'shachronim hu pashut. As mentioned, the reason we're on 269, the reason to permit squeezing into food is that the liquid is treated as secondary to the food, but now that it's on the food, it adopts the status of that food. The Orchos Shabbos notes that this leniency applies only if the juice is absorbed into the solid. Heter zeh shel Shechitas pri l'toch ochel. This leniency of squeezing a fruit juice onto your food, nemar rak ba'ofen shekol hamitz nitfa la'ochel. The juice has to be absorbed into the food. Kegon shehu nivla or nivla bo, absorbed or mixed into it. Aval miut hamitz oimed b'fnei atzmo. If I guess you can identify some of the liquid by itself, and it's not sort of secondary to the food, but it's like primary, its own thing. But he says clearly, he's anticipating us. Mutter lischot limon l'toch salat yirakot. You can squeeze lemon, fresh lemon, onto your vegetable salad on Shabbos. V'chein mutter lischot tapuz or limon l'toch gezer merusik. You can squeeze orange or lemon juice into crushed carrot. Okay.
So would Ramosha agree with that? Because orange and grapefruit sound similar.
No, there he said you can't put it on the sugar because remember he said you can't put it on the sugar.
So would
Kol haschitu mishum shirotze lishtos. It remains a beverage. No, but a lemon would apply. It's not, we don't drink the lemon.
No,
It's
but
meant to add flavor.
would Ramosha hold that you can squeeze grapefruit onto fish?
He somehow thinks he thinks grapefruit is for drinking and not for toppling.
Well, so is orange. This is orange. He says orange or a lemon. He doesn't say a lemon also, so you may the squeeze with Ramosha, but would Ramosha hold that you could squeeze grapefruit onto fish?
Why would it be different? Why would a grapefruit be different than orange? If he's allowing orange, you'd think he would allow grapefruit as well.
I assume.
You think he would disallow? He would disallow the orange. Yaakov is commenting that Rav Moshe, when we learned tonight, said that when you squeeze grapefruit, it even onto a solid, it doesn't lose its status as a beverage. Because people they don't drink it as a sort of an additive flavor. Now, orange is the same thing. Orange is really drunk as a beverage. It's not really done to flavor things. I mean, chefs do it. I mean,
Like in a salad.
like, no, I'm talking about like you might use orange when you cook, I don't know, duck or I don't know, like, but it's not squeezed on food, really. Lemon, yes. We squeeze lemon on.
So
He mentions orange
he does.
onto a crushed carrot because that might be a certain recipe or something. I don't know.
So I think Ramosha would probably say that you can't do that. You can't.
That you
squeeze-
can't do it
you
like
cannot.
the grapefruit, but lemon, yes. But lemon, yes.
Yeah, lemon will.
Lemon, he would agree
No,
because it doesn't. We don't just drink that. The Shmir Shabbos Kilchasa adds that this is what I was thinking, that if you're squeezing the orange only for flavoring the food, that's your kavana, So maybe that overrides the Rav Moshe problem. I don't know. Let's see if that's what he's going to say. That if the intent is to flavor the food, it's permitted, even if the liquid is not absorbed. In the footnote, the source for this ruling is explained. Let's just see.
See the foot.
Well, let's see. Let's learn first. You want to squeeze something on a food which is going to add the flavor. Mashkin. You don't care at all about the flavor of the beverage. By adding the fruity juice. You can squeeze it by hand. Not a special kli. You know, we have those kalim that you can squeeze. I wonder if it's because it's considered kilachar yad. I mean, what's the problem? I mean, why not the kli? I mean, I don't remember. I mean, why not the kli?
Look
Let's
at
look at the footnote.
footnote 9.
Using a utensil of this sort is forbidden midrabanan as uvda d'chol. There we go. No, I'm just saying,
Yeah.
whenever they can't find something,
So,
it's uvda d'chol. Because technically, what they're saying is mikra din is not a problem. We're not a problem with Sechita. So but they don't like it because it's something we do during the week. So don't do it on Shabbos, do it by hand. Uvda d'chol. For example, playing basketball on Shabbos. It was uvda d'chol.
I do that.
I know, because we did also when growing up, but our rabbis always would bemoan that and say it's an uvda d'chol, right? We shouldn't be doing it. Technically, even though if you're encircled, you're not carrying anything, but it's another example of uvda d'chol. Similarly, using a utensil for cutting up vegetables into small pieces, even in cases in which the cutting itself is permitted. Utensil. You can use a knife to cut up
I
vegetables.
think it means probably something that has like.
Some special
like
cleave
something
that does
Like
it.
a shot, like something like this.
chop.
What would you call them?
Madeline.
Yeah, there are.
I mean, the
Yeah,
things
or
that they
a dice
sell
something.
on late night TV, where you put a tomato in and you do it and it slices you in one.
Yes, exactly.
Plumber
On
sells.
QVC.
Amateur shop.
Hanukkah summer also sells,
I
it, so
see.
not like that TV.
Who's to say it again?
Hanukkah.
Oh, sells stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they do a good
QVC.
job.
Well, it is, we have one.
Rotzel l'saken et cetera. Ayideo says means muter l'schot pribiyan. V'lo b'kli amyuchad l'kach. You can't use a specialized kli. Ala oichlin. Vafilu eina mitzvah nitzchat nitzpak b'soch. And then he says, even if it's not completely absorbed, busha kol hamitz olufachos ruba balatikun ochlin. As long as either all of it or the majority of it is coming to add flavor to the food you're putting it in. Lefichach muter lischos limon al salat ve'al dagim. Right? I mean, I would say that probably it's the most common.
It's actually shocking.
Yeah,
Isn't it
I have to
shocking?
tell you something, that has
It's
not been our
shocking.
practice.
There must be another page where it's gonna say that you can't do it.
That's not been our personal practice, but he says clearly you can squeeze it on salad
Do it.
or on fish. V'chein tapuz al banana meruseket. They used to squeeze orange onto crushed banana. Again, this is an Israeli thing, obviously. Rav Neuwirth lived in Beit Vagan. I knew Rav Neuwirth. He lived very close to Rav Nachman Gottesman. When I visited Rav Gottesman one time, he introduced me to Rav Neuwirth. He's not alive anymore. But he was very close to Rav Shlomo Zalman. Ayin Siman Shamach Chav. Du mutter lischol l'toch k'deira k'dei l'takein esatama oichel. You can squeeze into a dish to help the flavor, which that was the Shulchan Aruch. Ayin Sham Shulchan Aruch. Umashma deichel de balatakein mutter. If it's coming to fix the food, it's allowed. Even if it's not fully absorbed. Vimkein yeshnam shnei dinim. So there's two dinim. Heichel de balatakein esa'oichel. So when it's coming to improve the food, then it doesn't have to be fully absorbed in it. Then, even if it's not coming necessarily to improve the food, if it's completely absorbed, it would still be permitted.
What else would you do?
Yeah, I don't,
We'll cover every condition.
yeah. Well, I don't understand why you do it if it doesn't come to him.
Yeah, what do you do? You like the books of it?
There, you have some extra stuff you want to put in there. I don't understand the second din in the Shmir Shabbos. Okay. Now we come to something that is very relevant on kibbutzim. Mefark and milking animals on Shabbos. Los Angeles was zoche to help establish a garin in Malea Gilboa. I think Walter, when he was in Kerem B'Yavne during the Yom Kippur War, and he was sent, or one of the places he was in was Malea Gilboa. Yeah, you told me, and Malea Gilboa was on the border, and they had a very important. It was like a communication tower there. Anyways, Lenny Kaplan and Jerry Ganger, they lived in the valley. Ellen Mervis, Esther Brenner. This was all from Shevet Moriah, Shevet Yachtav. They helped establish Malek Gilboa. So when I was there in 1977 and 75, I went to visit them. And I was there over a weekend, over a Shabbos. And they had, there was milking cows. It's Tzar Balechaim. We're going to learn all about it now. When are you allowed to do it? We're not allowed to do it. It was a big milking operation there. They also had a lot of turkeys. They had to be fed on Shabbos. They did wake me up to help them with that. So the sources we have seen concerning Mefarik.
By the way, Ernie.
Yes, sir.
No, Rav Kook says that, when we have this, he gives one of a pshat on eating milk and meat together, why we should not eat milk and meat together. He says, because if you don't milk the cow on Shabbos, there's so much Sarah Ba'alachaim that the cow could die, right? So then you take the milk that gave the cow life and you mix it with meat that basically you shechted the cow, so that they are juxtaposed in nature, life and death, and you're not allowed to do that. So therefore, you're not allowed to basically eat milk and meat together, because you actually give life to the cow by milking it.
Okay, very good. He's giving Tama mitzvos, the parak, the third parak of the Mor Nevuchim is all full about Tama mitzvos. It was very controversial. People didn't. The other Chachamim of Provence, when we were in the south of France, where did Walter? We just left somebody. Was that George? Okay. There was a huge machlokas against the Rambam. They burned his books in Montpellier. We were in Montpellier.
Yeah.
And one of the they didn't like Tama mitzvahs, but there are many commentaries regarding that. And it's very interesting.
By the way,
one that Rav Kook brings.
By the way, when I was in Malek Gilboa, there were no cows. There were a lot of turkeys that we had to take care of, and the fields down on the Jordanian border. But I didn't see, maybe that.
Then later on, they got cows. Then they had a milking operation.
After 1973, so obviously.
Remember, I was there in 78. Excuse me, in 77.
Okay.
They also had a beautiful gym that I played basketball in. And I don't think that was there either in 78.
No, that was not there. There was
we played Motzei Shabbos.
There were a lot of bomb shelters that we slept in, but there were no gyms.
But there was a big, beautiful gym that they eventually built. It wasn't that long after you were there. Yeah. Okay. Well, we went to visit too when we with our family. We stopped in Malek Gilboa with our driver up to the Golan. Okay. This issue of mafarik and squeezing liquid into solid are relevant to the question of milking cows on Shabbos. Is one permitted to milk animals on Shabbos, and if so, how? Before briefly seeing some of the discussions, let us see a bit more background. The Gemara clearly states that milking a cow is mafarik, and therefore should be forbidden on Shabbos. Rav Nachman bar Guria, Iklal Nardo. Rav Nachman visited Nardo. Boy minei. Choylev mishum mayim mechayim. So the question was asked of him, someone who milks a cow on Shabbos, is he chayiv? And if he's chayiv, what is he chayiv? Omer lehu mishum choylev. He's chayiv for milking. But that really is not an answer, because choylev is not one of the 39 melachas. he was really being asked what Melacha is he liable. Also, Shol Ben Midrasha, so they asked in Yeshiva, Amr Lechoylev Chayiv Mishum Mafarik. It's this Mafarik business, like we said, taking liquid out of a solid food, you're separating, and that's Mafarik. So the Shulchan Aruch permits asking a Gentile to milk a cow on Shabbos, since the cow may otherwise suffer from not being milked, and certain rabbinic prohibitions are relaxed when there's tzar balechayim. So he says, the Shulchan Aruch in Shinhei, Mutter loimer le'enu Yehudi lachlov be'emto b'Shabbos mishum tzar balechayim. You're allowed to tell a non-Jew directly. We're not talking about hinting here. Like we know, we'll see certain times when we tell a non-Jew to do something, we do it in the form of a hint. We say, "Oh, it's dark in here," and they turn on the light. We don't directly do it. We may be roimates, but here you're permitted to tell them to milk the animal. Shachalav mitza'ara. The unmilked milk is causing the animal to have pain. V'achalav Tzurba bayom. Now, you can't drink the freshly milked milk on Shabbos. We have the same issue we mentioned 10 minutes ago to Kobe about noilad, right? An egg that is hatched on Shabbos can't use because it's got to be, anything you use on Shabbos has to be prepared from before Shabbos. That's to be muchan. And the milk was not muchan. Yehudi, b'dover muat, shloye nira kechoylev l'tzrak Yisrael. So some say you have to give the Gentile some money, so it doesn't appear that the Gentile is milking the animal for the benefit of the Jew. But it's clear that he's doing it to prevent the suffering of the animal. The question has become especially relevant in the last century with respect to dairy farms in Israel. Hiring Gentiles to milk the cows would seem to be the most ideal halachic approach in light of the ruling of the Shulchan Aruch. However, this was difficult to implement practically in the early 1900s. It presented a security threat to the Jewish moshavot. It also caused proliferation of animal diseases. Some suggested that perhaps even a Jew may milk the cow based upon one of the principles discussed above. If it's permitted to squeeze liquids directly into solids, then perhaps one may place a slice of bread in the bottom of the milking bucket, so when the milk falls into the bucket, it's absorbed into the food. This idea was rejected by many poskim, based upon the Shulchan Aruch Harav, the Balatanya, who notes that the milk does not improve the slice of bread. Plus, the milk must be completely absorbed into the bread, which would not be the case with a full bucket of milk. See Rav Avram Hillel Goldberg, former Rav of the village of Kvarpinas, in Haaretz Umitzvot Teha, I guess who discusses this more in detail. Let's see the Shulchan Aruch Harav. Kfar Nispaer b'siman Taf Tzadik Hey, Sha'asher Lichlov Be'ema B'Yontiv. You cannot milk a cow on Yontiv. Afilu Rotze Lechol Achalav Bo Bayom. Even though he wants to drink it that day. That's forbidden if you're going to milk the cow into an empty kli. Or into a kli that has another liquid. But he says you can milk into a kli that has food. As we've been learning, fluid that is squeezed onto another food is treated not like a beverage, but like food. So it's like he's separating one food to another food. It's not the standard right into an empty kli. But squeezing the milk has to be onto a food that's going to get improved by that milk that's being dumped on it. O sheyesh bekli pirurin v'chalav nivbla b'hem u'misrayv b'hem yafe. Or you have like crumbs and the milk is absorbed into them. Shazu batal l'gabe ha'oichel v'torah tzarich l'olav. Because then the milk, it becomes nullified as a beverage, becomes an oichel. Aval ha'choilev chalav harbe l'toch kli sheyesh b'mat lechem. But this has been a trick, right? The whole idea is you want to fill up a big bucket of milk, and you want to use a trick by putting a small piece of bread at the bottom of the bucket. That's just a trick, and therefore it's only a me'at chalav nifla b'lechem. Kevet sharbe chalav nishar levado. There's tons of milk. 90% of the milk is by itself. B'kli she'enim orevim ha'ochel. Arei toras mashkalav v'osar mishum afar. Rav Avram Yitzchak Kook writes that rabbinic authorities cannot sanction those Jews who milk the cows themselves. And he recommends attempting to hire Gentiles to do the milking, despite the difficulties involved. Says this Avram Yitzchak, says Rav Kook, in Orchas Mishpat, he had a number of Sforim. Mishpat Kohen is another famous halachic writing of Rav Kook. He says Rav Kook is, derided by many elements in the Haredi community, that he was lenient regarding the mechira of the land for Shemitah. 1 second. Let's see what these people want. 1 second. I'm going to call later. Here he's stringent, Rav Kook. This is a Torah prohibition, according to most opinions. So let's say we are we're going to ignore those where they milk it so that the milk falls on the ground. So they're not really using the milk, but they're getting rid of the pain for the animal. Rav Kook felt that this solution should also not be used, though he acknowledged that it was far less problematic than using the milk afterwards. So he says, "Akaveh bezrat Hashem, she'im namod kulanu ba'aguda achat l'chazekas idei hacharedim al kedusha Shabbos." He says, "I hope be'ezras Hashem that if we stand together ba'aguda achas," right? He uses the aguda terminology to all the Charedim who are scrupulous regarding Kedusha Shabbos Kodesh Yimtzu Gam Ka'et Nochrim, they should find Gentiles who will allow the government will allow them to come in. Now here the Chazon Ish is more lenient. Permitted Jews to milk the cows if the milk was disposed of, and if Gentiles were not available, relying on some opinions that hold this is not defined as Mefarik. That means milking it and getting rid of it. So if you milk on the ground, some hold it's not a melacha because you're not taking the food. Being mefarik, one food is you're going to use it, but here you're dumping it. Says the best way is for a Gentile to do it. Hire a Gentile. In more recent times, the option of milking with machines has become more practical. That Malach Gilboa had some form of automation, even at that time. Yeah. Consequently, many have suggested milking the cows through using machinery involving grama, indirect causation, which poskim allow in case of loss. Rav Chaim Jachter summarized this approach, developed by the Tzurba Institute. The Tzurba Institute applies this principle to redirecting milk from the drain to storage containers through grama. No person directly moves the machinery from waste to storage. Instead, a person moves a faucet, causing no immediate result. Several seconds later, an electronic eye discovers that the faucet has moved, causes the machinery to switch the milk flow from waste to storage. While the Ramah permits grama only in case of great financial need, here grama is being utilized routinely. Nonetheless, there are two reasons to permit its implementation on dairy farms. One can argue that this is a case of great financial need, as losing a day's worth of milk every week would deliver a major economic blow to any dairy farm. Accordingly, there would be room to rule leniently even without pressing financial need. Let's just look at the footnotes here. In number 12 on page 272. Rav Kook felt that this solution should not be used, which was milk on the ground, though he acknowledged it was far less problematic than using the milk. Indeed, the Chazon Ish was willing to permit this when absolutely necessary. See Rashi, who subscribes to this view that milking on the ground is not mafarig. Others maintain that milking in this manner is still a rabbinic mafarig. Then, regarding the room to be lenient even without pressing financial need, additional complexities concerning this issue and the solutions were discussed by Objector in the complete article. And the last paragraph, other more recent approaches relying on grama have also been developed. One such solution is to use an automatic milking machine operated by a timer. An individual attaches the hose of the milking machine to the udders of the cow while the electricity is off. This solution is discussed at length in the continuation of Objector's article. There are also numerous articles in Tchulim on the subject, and of course there's other sources.
I think that's the thing you've done with the folks. They milk the cow with the machine on Shabbos. And I guess they do it this way, but I know it's done all over. And those machines were been around a long time. I think like the late '60s, early '70s. I remember. I was on a farm once, and saw that.
Let's see if we can finish this segment of Sechita, squeezing absorbed liquid out of food. Another aspect of Sechita that arises occasionally pertains to squeezing food that has absorbed liquid. The Gemara records that Amoraim debate whether it's permitted to squeeze liquid out of boiled or pickled foods. The Amoraim distinguish between squeezing in order to use the liquid and squeezing in order to improve the food. Kvasim shesochtan, you have pickled items and you squeeze them. Amarav lagufan mutter. That means you don't like that this pickled vegetable, it's got too much fluid in it. You want to improve the vegetables. So that's why you're squeezing the fruit. So Rav says legufan for itself, it's permitted. But lememei and potter of a losser. If you want the fluid that's in there, technically it's not a melacha that you're chayv on Shabbos, but the chachamim make a gzeir that you're not allowed to do it.
It's a Melacha shenshir l'guf.
But yet it's not permitted. It's potter of a losser.
Why is it not? And so you don't want the liquid. Why is it Melacha shenshir l'guf?
He says, if you want it, lemeimein, if your intent is for the liquid, then it's potter of a losser. It's not Sechita midaraisa, but the Rabbanim make exer like they don't want you to get into the habit of squeezing things.
I'm saying it's an ordinary Melacha shenshir l'guf. I mean, it would be permitted.
But he's saying, if you want it to, because you want to improve the vegetable, it's okay. But let's say you want, for some reason, there's a fluid in there that you want the fluid. So that's not any lagufa. Laguf. Ushlakos ben lagufa ben lemeimein mutter. This is shlakos are boiled vegetables. Here, here you're allowed to do it no matter what. That's Rav. Shmuel Amar echad zev echad ze lagufan mutter. There he makes a distinction whether it's pickled or boiled. If you want to get rid of the fluid in there, and that's why you're squeezing it out, to improve the food itself, it's permitted. Lemeimein potter of a losser in both cases. So he says, if you squeeze either a pickled or a cooked thing for a fluid, it's a malacha, and you're chayv achatas for it's not potter of a losser. Now Rashi explains, according to Rav, one may squeeze the liquid from all types of vegetables if one wishes to remove it, since one does not desire the liquid at all. This bears no similarity to extraction or dash, and therefore it's permitted. It's not mafarik. When squeezing the vegetables to use the extracted liquid, Rav holds that the liquid in pickled vegetables is forbidden Mrabanan only, since the liquid was absorbed from the outside. It's not liquid that was internal naturally in this food. It came in from somewhere else. In Rashi's view, according to this, Chazal forbade squeezing out liquids from pickled vegetables in order to ensure that people would not also squeeze grapes or olives. So it's just a gzeira to avoid, the zaysim and the anovim. While that's permanent, because once it's spoiled, it's treated as part of the vegetable. Rishonim disagree as to which opinion is accepted as Melacha. Rabbeinu Chananel said by Tosfos rules in accordance with the opinion of Rabbeinu Yochanan. Yochanan who Perish Rabbeinu Chananel, the halacha of Yochanan, the Kaimelan Kavos, the Gabi Rav Shmuel. The halacha is always like Yochanan against them. The Rif, Rambam, and the Rosh are rule in accordance with the opinion of Shmuel. The Rif explains that his opinion reflects the majority of the three opinions mentioned, Since Rav agrees with him that squeezing boiled vegetables is not a Torah prohibition, and regarding squeezing vegetables to use their liquid, Rav Yochanan agrees with him as well. Says the Rif, less chazak Rav Yochanan, lenin chiyuv chatas. It's not a chiyuv chatas. Davle Rav Shmuel b'chadash shitosa. Really, Rav and Shmuel are the same opinion. The lekach chiyuv chatas, ela b'zeisim v'novim. It's only olives and grapes. Davle Rav Yochanan Yochid. When he came up with this chiyuv chatas, he's a solitary opinion. Vein v'rav shlecha b'makom shnayim. One person against two is not going to stand. V'od hadatan b'nei Menashe. The yeshiva of Bnei Menashe is Sailu to Omer Dvar Torah, Eino Chayev al Dricha Zeisim V'Novim B'Vad. The only time you're Chayev Midoraisa in this whole Sechita business is if you squeeze olives and grapes. Mistavrelon the Hilchos Kavos de Shmuel B'Hal Milsa. It's logical that the halachos like Shmuel, the Karavecha Kavos in Isser. He's like Rav Yochanan V'Leka B'Nai Plukta Elin Chiv Chatas. The Shulchan Aruch rules in accordance with the Rif Rambam and Rosh, so that one may not squeeze the liquid from boiled or pickled vegetables in order to drink that liquid. However, one may squeeze it into another food. The Shulchan Aruch mentions the opinion of Rabbeinu Chananel, right? He says, "Liskod kvashim, perus uminei rokos hamonochim b'choimetz." You're talking about, cucumbers that are in vinegar and salt, brine, kadesh lo yirkavu, because you want them to last. And shlokos, which are boiled vegetables. If the squeezing out is laguf from shenetzarech lamayim, we don't need the beverage. We want to make it taste better. There you can squeeze the beverage even to a plate that doesn't have any food. Mutter. Now, in tzarech lamemeyan mutter lischot l'toch kader sheish bo oichel. Again, we go back that the squeezing into a food is permitted. Avalam ein bo oichel osur l'beinu chanana kol shu tzarech lamemeyan yechayv chatas afilu sochad l'kader sheish bo oichel. So he quotes Rabbeinu Chananel, this stringent opinion. The Mishnah Berurah distinguishes between squeezing these vegetables and squeezing juice out of fruits. Even though we said other other fruits, it's permitted, like not grapes and olives, and not those things that are made for juice. Right? We said that's called sharp pears. You're allowed to squeeze them up, even for their beverage, like we mentioned, shiny also shein shamashkel me peros. Ain't shein mashkel me peros. It doesn't have the name of a beverage. Ravi kimafrid oichel oichel. It's like oichel. Mashekein hachadaya shein mashkel lav mikoidim. There was some kind of fluid that was absorbed in this food. V'shayich bo shem Sechita. Therefore, Sechita makes more sense with that. He rejects the chiyuv chatas. That's we had him before saying that midaraisa it's only grapes and olives. Based on the primary opinion of Shulchan Aruch, the Mishnah Berurah rules that one may squeeze out liquid that has been absorbed by lettuce, since one merely wishes to dry the lettuce. Squeezing out fluid that's floating on it or absorbed from the kedei and guf machil because it tastes better than lettuce. We don't want the fluid. Salatin. After the salad has been soaked in water. It's not doesn't fall in this category. Even if you're squeezing that fluid onto an empty plate and there's no food there, the whole intent is not for the fluid, it's to make the salad better. Of course, grapes and olives are forbidden. The majority of the world uses it for fluid. The Yalkut Yosef offers practical guidelines concerning similar fruits to those of Gemara and the Shulchan Aruch, which address pickle and boiled vegetables. He notes that even if one wants to use the liquid, one may squeeze it into a bowl or plate with food. Pears or yerokos, fruit or vegetables like vushim b'chometz that are pickled in brine, or b'mei melach, k'gon malafafon chametz pickles, v'chen yerokos shlukim cooked vegetables. Mutar l'sortim b'shabbos l'toch kara reka. You can squeeze them into an empty plate. Kol she'ena tzarech l'mano yitzimem, as long as you don't need the fluid. Ve'enu sortim al kedei l'staknem. The point of squeezing it is to make the food better. L'achshem l'achila. Chein mutar l'schot l'pas. Lischot lefes or chatzilim. These are turnips or eggplants, metugnam, fried, or shari rokot, bavusholim, me'ashuman, shalab, let's say they're very oily, and you want to squeeze the oil out. Kishoisaken k'til sakin soichel. Shekashal oichlem mirov shavnineim, they're so oily. And with tzarch lememeyan, if you need, for some reason, the fluid in there, then of course you can use the tried and true leniency of squeezing it on food. But on an empty plate also. The Orcha Shabbos notes, oily food or food cooked with a large amount of sauce would also be subject to the guidelines of that. Thus, one may squeeze out the liquid to dry the food, but one may not do so to make use of the liquid. Dover Michael Nidgan, it was fried. Food is cooked. Lusavik b'shemen or berotiv. It's either oil or sauce. You know, shimbalasach lusach lutzach shimush b'shemen or berotiv. Fuki the fluid. But in kavanos lutzach achila k'dei l'salak is ribu haroit. If you want to get rid of that, harezavot. Okay, so we finished Sechita and Dash. Next week we're going to start boirer.
You can, you usually squeeze it, you squeeze it on food.
And if you want, you can
You
squeeze
do
it
that
on.
Shabbos, I think. with
Yes.
food, Right?
Yes, on food.
Okay.
Okay, any comments, questions, arrows?
Aaron, do you have volume 19? Because we'll need it very soon.
I'm going to make sure we get it. I will still, thank you, I'm gonna send an email.
Yeah, it's a good question. I wanted to
Well,
ask.
I think we're gonna have 2 weeks, so we'll get it in a few weeks. It's gonna be-
What, 2 weeks of boiler? I don't think.
Yeah. Boris a lot. Oh, border war, maybe, we'll see. We'll try to get it.
Boiler doesn't look that long, but okay, you can finish it in half an hour.
No, we're gonna, I'm talking about as a group, it may take us 2 weeks.
Where's Kobe? Kobe, you're asking good questions, Kobe. Goyach.
Tell me, what about
Make it like 7